Hi, this is Tony Martignetti, the host of Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio, big nonprofit ideas for the other 95%. We're live at the NextGen Charity Conference at the AXA Equitable Theater in New York City, and we have an interview with Seth Godin. Seth is a #1 business blogger on the web. He's the author of Lynchpin. He's the founder of Squidoo, and I did not do the interview. The interview you're going to see is by Regina Walton. Organic Social Media is her company. She does organic social media for my radio show and for my company. And she interviewed Seth Godin while I was elsewhere. So that's what you're about to see.
My name's Regina Walton. None of you have heard me before. I am Tony's social media manager. And we're here at NextGen Charity. And I have the pleasure of speaking with Seth Godin.
Hi, Regina.
Hi. Question. When you were giving your speech, you were talking to charities about how to adjust to this new world of work. Can you give a quick summary of what you were talking about?
I'm not sure I'm happy with the word adjust.
Okay.
This is a revolution. This is the first revolution since TV 1950 and Henry Ford 1920. It's the revolution of our lifetime. If you look at the revolution we are in and you view it as something one needs to adjust to, that's a little bit like being a horse salesman saying, I have to adjust to the car. No, you have to embrace it. You have to dive into it. You have to figure out, how do I use this open door and this opportunity to make a dent in the universe?
Right. So from that perspective, then, what do you recommend for people to jump in and embrace and revolutionize and to, innovate?
3 steps. Ship, get it out the door, have it intersect with the marketplace. Until there's an intersection, nothing happens.
Okay.
2, connect. Understand that the internet is a connection machine. That's what it's for. That's what it was invented for. It wasn't there to help you sell shoes. It was there to connect one to another. So you have to keep track of how many connections you've got and what are they worth. And number 3 is fail. Fail often. People in revolutions fail. In 1920, there were 2,300 car companies in the United States. Think about that for a minute.
Wow.
Right? So you don't say, I'm only going to start a car company if I can be guaranteed to be General Motors. No, you say, well, give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And that's the, nonprofits have so much at stake on the upside and so little at stake on the downside that there's no excuse whatsoever for them not to make the choice to ship and to fail and to repeat. Because if you do nothing, you're going to get what you already got. But if you do something and it works, then you can make some lives change.
Right. And so this connects to your point when you brought up Charity Water, and I do remember you were saying, if you do what Scott does, it's not going to work.
Right.
So can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, it goes back to the idea of purple cow, right? Marcel Duchamp was a visual artist, and he was a Dadaist. He put a urinal into an art exhibit, and it was a sensation. The second guy who put a urinal into a museum was a plumber, right? Very big difference between being the first guy and the second guy. So if we're doing art, if we're making conversations, if we're telling stories that spread, we have to be the one who does it first, and we have to be the one who does it in a way that impacts people. If you say, well, I'm just like that guy, but me, we're going to go with that guy. He was first. He got our attention. Now we don't need you. We've solved whatever problem he solved.
Right. Okay. And just one more question, at least, is that with NextGen Charity, there are a lot of new charities here. But with Tony, he does a lot of work with planned giving. You've got to be around for 10 years before you can even start that process.
Yep.
So, and people are trying to keep up with, I'll bring them up again, Charity Water. People are trying to keep up with these new guys.
Sure.
So how do you help them? Or what can you say to them, the older charities that are still going?
Well, I would start by saying this, that $10 texted donations are dramatically overrated. You can't count on them. You can't build a real organization on them. They're flashy, but that's not the future.
Okay.
Permission is the future. The privilege of anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to people who want to get them. Okay. The American Cancer Society has permission. The legacy charities have permission, and they're blowing it. Okay. They blow it the way politicians blow it. They get your email address, they hassle you for money until they burn it out, and then you're gone. Right. The answer instead is to say, these people care enough to listen to me. How can I say something to them that they want to hear? How can I create platforms and scenarios and stories that make them look forward to hearing from me? How do I take this permission and nurture it and grow it over time, as opposed to the slam bam, I got to make this quarter's numbers or the board's going to get mad at me mindset? That shift is a fundamental shift from the TV spam economy to the connection permission economy that we live in now.
Okay. And just one more thing. In terms of revolution, when I talk about this in terms of what I do, which I won't talk about a lot, I also talk about how in some ways it's going back. You know, it's like when your grandfather was talking to, you know, whoever, and they're just talking over the fence. It's just, it's newer, fancier, and flashier. Would you agree or disagree?
Absolutely. They call it a global village. And when they think about it, what they mean is tribes are 150, 250 people who care about each other. Well, now it doesn't have to be geography. It can be the 150 people in the United States who all grew up in that village and all grew up in that slum who are now coming together to fix that thing. It can be the 300 scientists who care the most about the truth about global warming and want to connect over that. So it's, yes, it's that conversation over the back fence, but it might be digital. So stop worrying about slamming strangers and start worrying about creating friends.
Okay, great. Seth, thank you so much for your
You're
time.
awesome.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate
doing
it.
the work. I appreciate it.
So I want to thank Seth Godin for sitting down with us. He's a busy guy. He sat down right after he came off stage. Thank you for sitting for the interview, Seth. And Regina Walton filling in while I was elsewhere. I had another commitment. Seth Godin, Regina Walton, thanks very much, guys.